Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. And today, my guest is Vinod Bollini. He is the Chief Evangelist. I saw two titles with Vinod. So, Chief Evangelist of InstaHeadshots and also the co founder of Magic Studio. I'm sure we'll get into all of that. Usually we have real estate agents on this podcast leveraging AI, but today we have, I believe, a thought leader who's reinventing some areas of AI that I think are very applicable because a picture always tells 1,000 words. And today that is going to come to life. So we're going to get into all of that with Vinod Bollini. Vinod, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Rajeev. Thanks so much for having me. Let me just clarify that. I'm not a big fan of job titles. And we build for small businesses. Small businesses don't have job titles. So
Yeah.
Chief Evangelist is what I do. But yeah, on paper somewhere, I am founder and CEO of a company, Magic Studio and InstaHeadshots. Are our products. InstaHeadshots is our hero product, the one we are very proud of, right? And we'll talk more about what it does in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love for you to, I know you have a long journey and how you got to today. So if you can give our audience to get to know you a little bit and give us the backstory.
Right. So I'm an engineer and who's always loved building things. And I think that's a way that anybody on my team can describe themselves, right? Been building digital technology products for about 2 decades now. And we are a small team and we are AI leveraged, right? I know we're going to talk about how a product is about AI, but we're AI leveraged. But the thing we love doing is we like building easy to use, powerful, and beautiful software products. Right? That's in a nutshell what we do. Every month, almost 2 million people use our products across Magic Studio and InstaHeadshots. Every day, about 1 million images get edited on Magic Studio FI, right?
Wow.
And we like to think of ourselves as champions of the small guys, right? Small businesses, professionals, right? Realtors are very much in the thick of that category, right? So, that's the quick nip, but we've been building internet products for about 10 years now, and the company's been around for 5 years. And we were doing AI before it was, how do I say it, sexy, right? So,
yeah.
Very happy to be in this place in this time. I think everything we've done so far somehow magically seems to have brought us to a place where we're building things that we love for people that love the things we build, right? So
yeah, for sure. That's a great way to put it. So before we get into your product, which I'm eager to get into, you, like you mentioned, you've been using AI before the Gen AI movement sort of started with ChatGPT late 2022, and we seem to be in like a speed train right now with all this stuff that's happening.
Yeah.
What was your first like light bulb moment with Gen AI, and you feel like this was going to be transformational?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, Rajeev, before we started the company, one of the questions we asked is why should we start a company, right? And what do we want to do, right? And it took a little bit of time, but there was an epiphany moment where we said, we want to build something that it puts a human being and a machine together and does something amazing, right? So, and I know that seems very broad, right? But the first prototype that we built a way for anybody to ask a human natural language question of data and get an answer. So, our target audience at that point, the idea was a Shopify merchant, to just say, hey, how many red t-shirts did I sell last month? Right? That's the way human beings ask questions.
Yeah.
The way most businesses have to translate that into value is, SQL, when, where, right? Red, yeah, right. So,
whatever.
First, it seems non-trivial, right? Can I ask questions like I think them? Second, it feels like an extension of who you are, right? It doesn't feel unnatural. The third is, it puts the world in the right perspective, in that machines are in the service of human beings rather than the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Most software, most technology products are, hey, here's a manual, or, practice and learn how to use this, and here's a shortcut, and, understand what cells mean, or, clone stamping in Photoshop, right? Years of, learning to use the tool that should be helping you, right? I have just if you indulge me, I have this philosophical way to look at this, right? So let's say 100 years from now, you wake up and you say, I want to make a painting, right? There is very dystopian view of technology that says, machine will paint, and then you look at the painting, right? But in reality, what is very likely to happen is the machine sort of shows you inspirational paintings, plays the right music in the background, corrects your brush stroke, right? You're not going to be the best artist just because you want to be, right? And what it helps you is then create the painting that you want to. And that's the joy of being human, right? When we look at the birds and say we want to fly, we don't flap our wings, right? We do much better because, airplanes can take you higher, farther, probably to Mars soon, right? So mean, that's the way we look at it, right? And that very first prototype for us was, sort of in the foundational for the company, right? We never actually built that product and sold it, by the way, right? But it was this very lovely moment where we said, there's a version of the future, and when I tell you 100 years from now this is going to happen, it's easy for you to, oh, this is science fiction, but it's happening today, right?
True.
And yeah, that
Yeah.
that was it.
A great way to put it. Great way to put it. It's supposed to amplify your human intelligence.
Correct. Right. So,
And to your point, the other day I had to build a spreadsheet, basic stuff to track things, for giving to 15 people to track stuff. Complicated formulas, and I can navigate Excel, but I am not Excel mania.
right.
But I just used Gemini, ChatGPT tools like that to build the spreadsheet formulas for me, and I just copied and pasted, and voila, in 45 minutes I was done.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's it's transformational in that people can now do things that they wanted to, but otherwise would have avoided, right?
Avoided or
yeah,
did not know how to.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So that's great stuff. So let's dive into, fun backstory to introduce to your product. So my youngest daughter came home in October. She's a sophomore at Florida State. Said, Dad, I need a good headshot. Need to build my LinkedIn profile. I said, LinkedIn profile, we can help easy, AI stuff, chatbot, whatever. So I said, headshots, I've heard of a few tools. Let's try it and see how it goes. And I stumbled across yours. And I probably had bookmarked it from some blog post or something. I don't know what it was. So she was done in 15. And, it's not hard. It's very hard to convince a 20-year-old girl to pick her headshot. I mean, I would probably pick my headshot a lot easier. I mean, if you have girls around you, you know that. And she picked it in 15 minutes flat. And what I told her was, don't tell her that this was AI. Post it in our family group chat. Brother, sister, and my wife all were in the house at the time. They're just in different rooms. Posted it. And, Dad took me to get a headshot. I specifically said, Dad took me to get a headshot. Don't say that Dad helped me create a headshot. So all three run down and say, when did you go and come back? You were still here. That's when we told them that it was AI generated. So, and then I posted that on my Facebook, and it lit up because I read a testimonial for this. So many people that asked me, hey, where do you go? InstaShots, whatever. So talk to me about what goes into building a product like that, brief synopsis, and how it can, obviously, you guys do some great work. So talk about the product as it stands today. And we'll include a link in the show notes for those of you that need to go get the product. And literally, I was done in 15 minutes.
Yeah. So I think the fundamental premise of InstaHeadshots is helping people build a great personal brand, right? And if you look at, the very core of that is, how you present yourself. It could be in a variety of different situations, but how you present an image of yourself, right? And there's a study somewhere that says, it takes 7 seconds for people to judge, and build trust, right? And if you haven't built that trust in 7 seconds, you're gone, right? 7 seconds is not a lot of time, right? You said something that was in my notes, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. You can get through a picture in 2 seconds. You can't get through 1,000 words in 100 seconds, right? So how do you present yourself and tell a story in 2 seconds, right? And that's where sort of a headshot comes in, right? What we do is, we take ordinary photos of yours. I say ordinary, but basically photos that you could have taken on a vacation. You could just take a few pictures around the house, right? And we transform them in 15 minutes to stunning studio quality photos, right? And I say studio quality, but you could get a photo on a beach in front of a yacht, right? So I don't mean in the studio, but photos that are amazing that you can be proud of, right? That happens so often. If you go and read like what our customers say about a product, coming in, they have a lot of questions, right? When they come on the other side, it's almost universally this, hey, I was looking around my shoulder trying to find somebody who I could show these photos to, right? So
Yeah.
that happens, and all of this, without leaving your desk, right? I just want to reiterate here, what we're not, yes, it's convenient, right? It's quick, saves you time, it saves you money, it saves you effort. But the real thing is it gives you these amazing headshots that you can basically supercharge your personal brand, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of how we look at it, right? And your experience is pretty much the experience that we see. Um, so happy that you found great headshots, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure, Vinod. So, I'm a big believer and I try things. I try a lot of things and some don't work. Some work exceptionally well. And I try to bring those founders and evangelists on the call to talk about their product because I'm a believer. And one of the things I loved about your product was you obviously upload at least 10 shots, I think, when I did
correct,
that.
correct.
And I recommend upload more than 10. I'm sure that's beneficial. Then it helps, not hurts. But it also gives you shots, standing shots, still like passport type shots and different background. You can change the clothing.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine trying to get all of those shots in one shot, even if you went to a studio.
right.
Like, I mean, it is very hard, time intensive, money, all of that is what you're reducing. You're collapsing time.
Yeah.
What I
So
love.
I'll tell you an interesting anecdote, right? This is one of the partners that we work with as well, right? And they are our partners because the person I was speaking to, she used the product. She had an amazing experience, and then said, we want to work with you, right? And an interesting thing she said is, I tried so many hairstyles, right? And my current hairstyle is the result of what I saw on InstaHeadshots, right? So,
Oh, wow.
right. So it's so you're right, right? So you need about 10 photos, right? Most people have 10 photos. We guide you through the process of uploading the right photos. The process is actually, there is an AI model that is trying to learn about how you look, right? So
Mhm.
think about, if I always anthropomorphize this because it's easy to understand, right? But if there was a person who was going to draw a portrait of you, right? What would I show them so that the portrait would make
Right.
sense?
Makes sense.
You would have images in different settings, different contexts. If you have different features, like you're wearing glasses in some of them, you have a beard in some of them, you don't, right? Your hairstyle changes, then the artist will be confused, right? It's a
Yeah.
similar thing with the AI, right? So you want to have images that have a consistent look, but you want variety, right? So that that's how you learn, right? So you do that. We ask for 10 photos. A few more would obviously help, but you can do with 10, right?
Yeah.
And we then sort of train a model, right? And this is intensive computation, right? We train a custom model just for each individual person, right? And then from that model, we generate 100, 200 headshots for you, right? Most people are able to get, if you generate 100 100 headshots, you probably get like 60 to 70 amazing headshots that you'll be proud of. A lot of people get a whole set. Sometimes input images are off, right? You'll get about 10 to 15, 20 amazing ones, right? So the outcome varies, but it's just think of it as if somebody was shooting photographs of yours and you had to go to a studio. You would wear one set of clothes. You would probably spend like hours there.
100%.
They would probably take like 20 shots and you'd get 3 or 4, right? When you contrast that with what you get here, different clothes, different settings, different as our partner said, hairstyles, right? It's really a completely different way of thinking of headshots, right? So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, several of our agents used your service, obviously, and I got wonderful notes, including one from one of our agents, Kathy McDonald, who's has grandkids, and she's been saying, "I got to get a headshot. I've been waiting for a year to do it, and this thing helped me solve." Again, if somebody at that age can do it, it's not tech related. It's just literally knowing about it and executing on it. So I think you
Right.
guys are doing great work, and
Yeah.
that's a great way to put it. So
Yeah.
I have a question for you around group shots.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we did when our daughter got all the pictures and family found out about it, we put it up on a big screen and looked at all the 50, 60 images.
Right.
And you're right. She got like 10 to 12 that she loves them and in different styles. And my other daughter asked, Dad, could we get this service to do a family picture,
Yeah.
group shot? So talk about the issues or challenges in pulling that off.
Right. So it's a couple of orders of magnitude more complex, right?
Oh,
Just
I can
off
imagine.
right of the
Yes.
boat, right? So one is one strange thing about the current generation of AI models that we use, right, or that are used for generating portraits, we train the AI model and they're so good at learning about you that in that universe, everybody is you, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
so what ends up happening is if you generate a photo with four people, it's a John Malkovich moment where it's all the four same, right? So, just not to get into the weeds of the
Yeah.
tech, right? But there's a very long bridge to cross, right? So, we are working on it, right? And there's a bunch of things to solve before we can make it happen, but we launched InstaHeadshots in November 23. And I think a month in, there's a Christmas card from a friend, family portrait, right? So like, can we do this, right? So we've been on it for a long time, but we're some distance away from making that happen, right?
Yeah.
There is uh, you know, putting all people in one photo is something that, we have a few challenges to solve before we get there. But we do one thing, right? So, and for businesses or teams that have like 10 people, right? If you're going to put up like headshots on your website, right? You want like a consistent photo, right? And getting that done for a team is incredibly painful, right?
Oh yeah.
Just getting people to go to the same place or be in the same place, hire a photographer, set it all up, right? And everybody needs to be wearing similar clothes, right? All of that. It's not easy, right? Um, Again, same simplicity, right? Sort of self-serve, right? You can be centrally administered. So you can get team headshots, right, today. But we can't put all of you in one photo yet, right? Hopefully we'll have a Christmas present for you before the year is out, right?
There
But
you go. Yeah.
I'm not
Keep us
making any promises.
updated.
Please don't
Yeah.
hold your breath,
Exactly.
right? So yeah.
So I think to your point, putting everybody in one shot is magnitude complicated
Yeah.
for all the things you mentioned, but a consistent look and feel for solo shots you can accomplish today.
Correct. Right.
Where you're
That's
going.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. So what are some of the other products that you guys are working on that we've not found out about? Anything that you can tease us on, or?
So just beyond headshots for professional reasons, right? We're trying to build more variability into headshots. We want you to be able to post a headshot when you go to a Yankees game, right? In a jersey, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to the game or not get a jersey, but it's very hard to get a shot that you can be worthy of posting and telling that story, right? Um, it's a similar thing for you go watch a superhero movie. So there are all these cases where we want you to be able to generate a photo in the moment for the moment, right? Uh, just for realtors as well, we're working on making it easier for you to do different kinds of headshots,
Mm.
and putting the power in your hands, right? So today you can actually, we have the 15-minute version where we do the work for you, and you just make a few choices and you get what you want. But there's also a version where you can go in and sort of customize and say, I want a bohemian house in the background, or I want a Spanish styled house, or I want an apartment in the city, right? And just think about it, right? Like if you are putting a listing for a house, right? You're going to build trust. Like you're selling a cabin in the woods, so you're going to build a trust if you look like the outdoorsy person that you probably are, but
Yeah.
it's so hard to portray, right? So we're building right off the blocks, better sort of packs where you can just pick and get to it quickly. But we're also building more control for you to be able to change what you wear, right? What setting you're showing up in, hairstyles for women, right? Being able to control whether or not you want to have glasses on. So giving more grain control within Insta headshots is something we're working on. But of course, also building, cooler use cases for you being able to post in the moment, keep coming back and get headshots. And really, it shouldn't be that hard for you to get a headshot, right? So once you set up and you've got the model trained with us, at any point of time, you come in and say, hey, maybe Marvel launches a new movie, and like, I want to look like Iron Man, and you should just get that. It shouldn't be so hard to get that photo, and we want to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Instead of doing either Photoshop and doing all that stuff, just use InstaShot.
Correct.
Right?
Right. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Rajiv, one of the things we learned right over the last 15 months is it's just incredible the number of places where people use these things, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, of course, LinkedIn, Instagram, obvious cases. Email signatures is a big deal, right? And I
Oh
I,
yeah.
I didn't realize until I built this product, I didn't realize it. But like when somebody has a photo in the email signature, I have a picture of that person, right? When I'm talking to them. When you call somebody and message somebody, your
Picture comes
iPhone
up.
sort of picture comes up, right? Uh, we've had people use our photos on magazine covers, right?
Wow.
Billboards, of course, websites, right? plenty of realtors, the picture outside an open house is an Insta headshots photo, right? So really making all of those cases, we've, print ready photos is something that we built, right? You can go and blow up your photo so it's ready to print. So sort of widening, deepening, and making more things possible, right? Eventually, at some point we would like you to be able to buy, I don't know, that Fendi or Gucci bag for a couple of dollars, right? And post it for, I don't know, the swag, the cred that you want to get out of it. But, if if a million people can get a Fendi bag for $1, right? I think the world is better off because you don't actually have to make a million bags, right? You get the same joy out of it, maybe, right? So I think there's a
Yeah, there's a
real
lot going
opportunity
on in
here,
this space, and
right? Yeah,
I have to tell you, I mean, there's obviously a lot of companies that are in this space.
right.
You see many of them, but the success you're seeing for your product is a testament to the quality of the product. So continued good work,
Thank you.
continued success, and as you chase this, and as you get to group shots, maybe I'll bring you back on the second version of Vinod's podcast episode. But this has been fun. I think there's a lot of value in the work you guys are doing. It's very applicable to real estate because it's very visual. Real estate is very visual, and building your personal brand is part of that. And photography is a big part of that. And most agents, I'll tell you, if you look at websites, their pictures need to be updated. They're like, damn, is this your brand? So I think the timing of this is very valuable. The ease of use is very valuable, and it's transformative tech, and we're only getting started on this journey. So this has been fun,
Right,
so
right.
as I sort of wind down, anything else you want to add? Where are we going with AI? I ask all my startup people that come on the show, is the world ready for AI?
Rajeev, I think one of the worst branding mistakes of the last, artificial intelligence has been in some way, shape, or form been around for 50 years, right? And the worst branding mistake is putting the word artificial in that, right? So it's no more or less artificial than anything else, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how much AI has been around for, a couple of decades, right? And that you've been using every day, right? Maps, your iOS photo app, or your camera, right? Netflix, and so I would say, there is a trust deficit, right? And we see that in the world, and I think it's misplaced, right? So I don't mean to say that technology can't hurt, right? Of course it can, right? But to put, we've done this thing where we did a AI or not, right? We'd show people a photo that was taken with a camera, and then an AI generated headshot, and everybody thinks they can, but nobody can tell, right? And it's not deception, right? It's as much a representation. So I think there's a trust deficit. I would actually say, we have a liberal refund policy, right? So we want to encourage people to try and take the leap, right? And I think with most AI tools, people should, right? So try it, make your life better, right? Do these amazing things. These are it's putting a cape on you, right? You're a superhero with AI tools, and that's how you should look at it. We are actively looking to help people, take that leap of faith, right? I can guarantee tell you from first party experience, right, that the world is so much better when you use AI and sort of leverage that in your life, in your work, in your in your relationships, right? It's amazing, right? So
I second that. And when I talk about AI mastery, to simplify AI mastery, the first step is curiosity.
Correct.
If AI favors the curious, so you got to be curious. If you're not curious, you're not going to dabble into AI. The next phase is understanding of the tool, like just basic understanding. Then you experiment with the tool,
right?
And then you integrate it, and then you transform your business, So this is just a flow. And I think the only difference between you and many of our listeners is that we've just had way more light bulb moments with know what AI is possible.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
So just go on that journey, be curious. And if you need another headshot sometime soon, you know where to go. It's instashots.com, instaheadshots.com. We'll put the link in the show notes. So this has been fun. Let me end with the final question for you, Vinod, that I ask all my podcast guests. I don't know if you're a book person or a podcast person in terms of knowledge, but either one, what was the one book or podcast that has greatly influenced you more than others?
Right. Yeah. I'm a book person, firstly, right? I like the touch of paper, right? The book I'm going to recommend is it's a book called Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. Rory Sutherland is used to be a big ad man at Ogilvy Mathers and
Oh yeah.
O&M in London, right? And I think the key idea there is, I think this is part of Rory's work as well, right? He talks about how we underestimate intangible value, right? So
Mm.
um, when I give you a glass of champagne, you're happy because you drank it. That happiness doesn't come because of how many milliliters of champagne it is, or it's so happiness is intangible, right? And value in the world, intangible value is both profound. There's a lot more of it, and it's easier to create, right? So people are too often worried about, what, when people are taking pictures, right? Or what lens is it, and which
Yeah.
camera. It's the moment that matters.
The
It's the
moment.
feel. It's the outcome, right? So, and I think particularly for realtors, right? So people are buying homes because it's a big part of their lives. It's an emotional decision, right? So
Yeah.
you can say it's so much about, hey, these are closing costs, and this is how much the house costs, and this is going to be your appreciation. But it's a home, right? It's where you come home to every day, right, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to learn how to think about creating that intangible value, right, the joy, happiness, worthwhile. There's a I know I said I'm not a podcast person, but he has a TED talk from
Oh, nice.
2009, right? And it's a really good segue into the idea of intangible value. So Rory Sutherland's Alchemy is
Yeah, we'll
uh,
put a link to that book in the show notes for those of you that want to grab it. And I get my yearly reading, a book reading from all my podcast guests. I get like 52 episodes of 52. There's always some really good books. So I've heard of Alchemy, but I've not read it. So that's going to be on my list to get and
yeah.
read. So Vinod, thank you for your time. This has been fun. I appreciate getting to know you and your product in the last few months. Continued success. I know you're off to India. Safe travels,
Thank
and
you.
hopefully we'll connect here real soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Rajeev. Have a good day.
You too.